Hey guys, Mr. Tweet here. So yesterday I had you guys watch a movie, and at the end of the movie, you had this famous social scientist, Dr. Zimbardo, who did the Stanford prison experiment, and he was talking about the Abu Ghraib soldiers and the official kind of government explanation of it's a few bad apples, and versus kind of his explanation where he said it was a bad barrel. This idea of structures leading to behaviors, it actually kind of goes back to the Renaissance. And what happened kind of during the Renaissance and the Enlightenment was that you had these discoveries of scientific laws that governed kind of, you know, the natural world. So like you had the discovery of kind of, Newton's, laws of motion and gravity. You have these, kind of other scientific laws that are being discovered. And what happens during the Enlightenment is you have, because of these scientific discoveries around the natural world, you begin to get people who kind of, who at the time would be called political philosophers. Today we might call them political scientists, even, which again harkens back to that idea of kind of like the natural science and applying it to humans and to politics. When I was in college, I majored in political science, and so again, which is like a social science, but again, it goes back to that enlightenment and the idea that if we discover these natural laws that govern humans, then we can set up the right system so that you plug the humans into the system and you get the outcome that you want. So that's really kind of in government class. It's a lot of what we're going to be doing actually, is we're going to be looking at these like systems and the theory behind these systems and how we're supposed to be able to kind of plug humans into these systems to get what we want out of it, right? And so one of the biggest kind of debates that you get after the Revolutionary War and the signing of the Declaration of Independence is this idea of like, well, what kind of government are we going to create coming out of that? And this was, in America, it was kind of this time where you had this people who were newly independent. They didn't really have a long history like, England or France, and where there was, these really, established traditions that kind of govern political behavior. America was an experiment, and it was a time, where people could kind of say like, let's see what structures work. Let's try out what we think might be best. Um, and so, what you get is, the kind of the first, I guess, kind of the first thing that people kind of thought about was, well, we just fought a war to break away from tyranny. So what kind of government do we want to create? And they wanted to create the opposite of tyranny. They wanted to create something where they felt like the government would not have the ability to harm them. And ultimately, you're going to watch a couple videos about the Articles of Confederation and Shays Rebellion, and that ultimately this experiment goes horribly wrong. And the idea of creating a purposefully weak government was our first attempt in the United States to try to create a government that would protect our rights. And kind of the resounding answer that comes out of that is a purposefully weak government will not protect the people's rights. That's the conclusion, by and large, that that political philosophers of the time came to. So as you watch the videos, kind of pay attention to that idea of how a weak government is supposed to protect, but it doesn't. Ultimately, what we're going to get when we get to like the Constitution is, the way that I like to think of it is, they're going to create a government, but ultimately it's going to be something that is very strong, but restrained. So it's going to be like a guard dog on a big fat chain. So the idea is it's strong enough to protect you, but it's got enough holding it back that it can't harm you if you don't want it to. So it's kind of like that guard dog on a chain is the philosophy we end up adopting for our government. How do we make it strong enough to protect us and our rights, but ultimately under our control? All right, so enjoy these couple videos, and then you got an assignment, and I'll see you on the other side to go over the directions with you. So peace.